So we're here at Donut Media, or as they call it, Inglewood Propulsion Laboratory, and they invited us down here to put a little supercharger on a little car. Well, not little by our standards, little by their standards.
Yeah, this is the biggest car you guys have ever seen.
Yeah, just about. This is pretty much the same supercharger that we put on the Barbie Jeep. Just a slightly bigger version of it. And I'm gonna put it in here, which has vastly more space than I'm used to working with. Look at all this space. I can put a supercharger here. I can put a supercharger back there. What I'm actually gonna do is put it where the airbox is, because that's what makes sense for the rotation, direction, and all those things. Look at that. If we're lucky, it's even the same diameter on the inside. Out of one of the 350Zs. This alternator pulley fits perfectly on that shaft. Now it's serpentine and slightly smaller, which means more boosts. After much rearranging and thinking, I have more or less a plan. It's gonna sit right about there on the serpentine belt with that shiny new used pulley. My main dilemma has been tensioning, because the stock tensioner, every which way I rearrange this, is now tensioning the wrong direction. If I can use the stock tensioner, I will. So I'm gonna take it apart and see if I can make the spring in it work the other direction. If not, I have a spare tensioner that's just a manual adjust tensioner that I'll put kind of in place of it. Maybe it'll self-clearance. And I have either a belt that's too short, or the only other belt that they had laying around is this enormously long one. So before I was just putting my foot in it, which is really awkward, and then I just grabbed the first heavy object I could find, which is a coilover. So now that holds just the right amount of tension for checking, belt, clearances and stuff. So I got the tensioner working, and looking pretty spiffy actually. I used this little piece here off of the tensioner from that Nissan engine. I'm guessing this Volkswagen is going to resent that, but that's how I do build parts out of
That's not Bosch.
And then here I just cut it at an arc so it fit into this casting so it can't spin once it's bolted in. So that was actually super simple once I figured out the plan. Now, I'm gonna use this piece of random scrap to make a temporary mount for the supercharger so that I can make the permanent mounts accurate. The lift got swindled by a much cooler car. So back to working on the ground, as we do. So I took this little port off here, and surprisingly these are aluminum. The one that we got had plastic ones, which is, that's good because I can weld to this. But the gasket is just an actual piece of paper. Like it's got some little
Mandarin characters on it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Come on. What does it say? It said, tobacco is harmful to health.
We translated it. It says cigarettes, harmful, healthy. Really?
That came inside the supercharger.
The gasket that came with our supercharger is a Chinese pack of cigarettes. We're gonna frame this and put it on the wall. This is amazing.
I have to take apart the other port. Maybe it's the other half of the carton.
I hope so. Probably like a disgusting picture of a lung.
What are the odds of us getting the text
I know,
on the
real.
piece? It's like they did it on purpose. Yeah.
There's just some guy with an X-Acto knife and like a template. He's like,
Yeah.
just like, no one done. While he's chain smoking, he's like, I gotta smoke all these cigarettes so I can make all these gaskets. So are you gonna use it or?
Well, we've used milk cartons before, and that holds air pretty tight. So
This is
like the papery milk cartons.
This is the most Wish thing that we've ever experienced on this channel, and we have experienced a lot of Wish things.
Welcome back to Idaho. If you're still working on your boat and you want to experience the outdoors, go fishing, do I have the game for you. This video is sponsored by Fishing Clash, a mobile game where you can go fishing, collect many different kinds of fish, go to different locations, and hook a big one. I just caught a shark, which is something I couldn't do here even if this boat was working.
This is a pretty awesome way to just cast a line, see what you can get.
Ayo! Download Fishing Clash now because for the 4th of July there's going to be a huge event with a bunch of competitions keeping you entertained throughout the whole weekend.
With our code, you'll receive an advanced rod and power-ups to help you compete with other players and catch bigger fish.
So if you're stuck indoors, your boat's not done yet, some really engaging gameplay. Amazing! We're doing it, we're doing it! This is a big one, I can tell.
This fishing trip sucks. Good thing I got Fishing Clash on my mobile phone. Now that I got Fishing Clash, I can fish whenever I want, wherever I want.
I was working on adapting this tube here to that, so I turned the circle into a square. That turned out pretty good. I'm using a lug nut there as an attachment point for the supercharger mount. So I'm just gonna make a bracket that goes from the bottom mounts on the supercharger to this lug nut, and I found an extra long bolt that goes into the engine. So you can see when I wiggle the engine, that bolt moves with the engine, as it should, but it's a nice sturdy place to mount the supercharger. Metal cutting bandsaw, kind of fun. Vertical bandsaw, that is. It's kind of slow.
Yeah, I can tell. I thought it was going to be really loud, but not at all.
Yeah.
Well, you can get a pretty tight curve on it.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, not super tight, but it's kind of handy to be able to cut curves like this without having to use a plasma cutter.
It does look like a little tiny toy version of the Ameribraid.
Basically, the fabrication tools, for the most part, I have here is a grinder and a welder and, you know, a hammer.
And it's working. Look at that bad boy.
Yeah, it's coming together.
Donut has bonus bolts.
Yeah, they do have bonus bolts, but like, they're clearly not as obsessed with bonus bolts as I am, because I think this is pretty much all of the bonus bolts. But hey, better than no bonus bolts. Well, what I've learned is that as soon as we get home, I'm buying a new set of burrs for the die grinder and an electric die grinder.
Yeah, they're great, aren't they?
Air die grinders are trash. Yeah, it's got torque and it doesn't like change as you run out of air or make the air compressor kick on while you're trying to film or
That's right when you need
Yeah.
to flip the switch.
so much better.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, look at that. Now we've got a square hole where there was a round one on both sides. We've got a square piece of tubing and a square hole.
That's what you want.
Yeah, just round it out really. Like that's already the size of the port on the supercharger as it is, so a little more smoothness to the flow there.
Did you zip yourself?
Did. Breaking in the new shirt.
Those aren't even for sale yet.
I know. Well, this one was never going to be for sale. So. For a little wire wheel. I have a nice scar right here from a grinder doing that when I was like 17 or something. I was at the top of a ladder too, so that was fun. So in the interest of actually making more horsepower, we're going from this to that. Why they send it with these dinky little things on there, I have no idea. At least these ones were aluminum, so I can use the flange. I didn't have to make a whole new flange. I just, you know, cut the end off and then ground out the inside, welded it onto here. But that should be a lot more flow. Like, I've done a lot of really loud things, but that hurts my ears in a way that nothing quite has. Sure blows some air though. There's a lot less fabrication tools here than our shop in general, but then there's some little ones that like we just haven't gotten around to getting. I'm making a list of tools that they have in this shop that we need that are actually not expensive. I've just never thought about. Bead roller, it's pretty high on the list. Not something you need every day, but when you need it, boy is it handy. It's not like we're going crazy high boost, so that ought to do the trick just a little bit so that it doesn't slip off.
So then we've got the plumbing, the grinding. I think our job is done.
I think so. Just a little more grinding, a little more plumbing, and we'll be out of here.
Is that what I think it is?
It's a boost gauge.
Oof.
With some hopefully temporary tubing. This stuff's a little bit stretchy. It might expand under actual boost, but you know, it's what we could find. I think it's time to start it up and see if it wants to idle with the stock ECU and the supercharger all hooked up. And then we'll put the injectors in to prepare for actual boosting. See what happens. Let's see if it makes boosted idle.
Why does it smell like toast?
Couldn't tell ya. I don't know what that smell is about, and I don't like it. Man, what is that smell? Hopefully that's not the internals of the supercharger melting. smell and the smoke is actually just the belt slipping a little bit. Because when the supercharger gets spinning up really fast, like even just a little bit of revving, it's spinning super fast and then you let off. And the belt stops spinning, but the supercharger has a ton of rotational mass that wants to stay spinning, I guess. Because that's what I saw when I looked at it, is it smoked a little bit when you rev it up and then let off. So, as far as I can tell, it's just a little bit of belt smoke. So I don't think anything's wrecked or anything. It's just a really weird, loud supercharger. It generates a hell of a lot of heat.
It's just a toasty oven boy.
Yeah, the donut sticker gaskets seem to be working, you know? Don't see any evidence of it leaking.
Today is testing day. We don't have the ECU, it didn't ship in time, but we're figuring some stuff out. Got some lubricant in there, it's a little bit quieter seems.
Yeah, I figured it can't hurt to lubricate the rotors in the supercharger a little bit.
Yeah. Less noise means less friction, which means less heat.
Yeah.
This is gonna be fun.
That's
It might be a short drive too, huh?
yes, I think so. I don't think it's long for this world. That supercharger.
Was it making any boost?
Not that I could see, but I mean, when we put the supercharger on our Barbie Jeep, it didn't make boost until you're actually like under a little bit of power. So
Yeah, when we put the supercharger on our Barbie Jeep, it didn't make any boost until you're actually
yeah.
It sounds so friggin' terrifying. It sounds like it's gonna get really hot and then blow
Yeah, that's probably what's gonna happen. Honestly.
Sounds like a bunch of metal rubbing against
So you saw how little time it was running, right? Like maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Put your hand on that intake pipe.
That's hot.
Like somehow this generates more heat than a turbo.
That is not warm. That is hot.
It's gonna be really interesting to see what it sounds like from inside the car. Little feather. Oh, it sounds so cool! Said no one ever.
This rules. This is like a Group B car.
It does actually sound like that if it was like running at way higher RPM.
This is so sick.
It's moving forward, which is honestly pretty cool.
Dude, this is awesome. This is the best sounding car at Donut right now.
Oh, we lost it. It probably blew up the map. Did we bring a screwdriver?
Not the right one.
It dies every time you lift the foot off the throttle,
You can't lift your foot off the throttle at all.
One 112.
Love 112.
The supercharger itself is like 160. That's not bad. I mean, that's not hotter than an engine.
It's not too bad, dude.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, yeah, it generates more heat as it goes faster, but it also gets more airflow as it goes faster.
Yeah.
So, like, it's air cooled.
With only a few hours before our flight home, the ECU finally shipped, and it was time to slap it in and go for another test drive.
I think it just piggybacks.
It's very scientific here. We have very little information to go on. Yeah, when we opened it up, it looked scary, but...
Also, when I saw this chip, I thought, like, oh no, we're gonna have to do soldering on an ECU board, and that sounds stressful, but no. It just clips in.
like a Lego.
Premium.
What's your guess? How many pounds of boost can we make with this thing? 3? 3 would be lit.
All right, Ethan successfully installed a new chip on the ECU that is supposedly pre-tuned, like a base tune for a supercharged 2-liter VW here. So now we're going to start up the car and have the ECU learn again how to idle, because that was kind of the main problem on our test drive. It couldn't idle.
pulled a spark plug out, and I think these have been in the car since it was new. They still have the Volkswagen Audi logo, and they are very, very worn out.
You've got it dumping extra fuel with the chip
Yeah,
into cylinders that have plugs that are not very good.
yeah, and blowing extra air in there to, you know.
Right, which is going to have a lot to do with whether it can actually idle or not.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, P1582. You cannot adjust idle
not
time.
just idle air.
It really just does not.
What I'm saying is you might be better off with stock injectors.
That's quite possible.
Now, we were making about 5 pounds of boost. We never figured out the idle. Unfortunately, we had to fly home right after this scene. We didn't have time to tune the computer or do any of the necessary steps to really get this thing to run at peak performance. Now, if you want to see Donut Media take this thing on the dyno, do a little before and after comparison to see if we made any power, check out their channel, Donut Media. The link is in the description. It's a really fun video, and I think you'll love it.
Who came up with the name?
James?
It's a good one.
Yeah, you're a big naming guy, huh?
Yeah, I'm into it.
Little bit off.
But it did learn idle before that happened. So
Oh, heck yeah.
yeah, and there was a few pulls that felt like it was actually maybe making more power.
So you know the snap, crackle, and pop that was going on? So I think that might have actually been unburnt fuel in the exhaust.
Seems plausible.
We're gonna have to blow some flames.
So that was the belt disintegrating.
Well, when we say it learned idle, we mean it was like.
But it was idling. Like,
It sounded like it had a
foot on the
huge cam in it.
I think
but
that
it
noise
didn't
might have
die.
also just been the belt. It like something ate
yeah.
the edge of the belt. I'm not sure what, but yeah, it's eaten. The rest of it's still there, but somehow.
Dude, we were all dying. The moment you guys pulled it away, all of us dead. Like,
Yeah!
Thanks for watching the video, guys, and again, check out Fishing Clash. The link is in our description.